Well, welcome everybody to this Conscious Cafe Global presentation here in the evening in the UK. My name is Gina Lazenby and I'm hosting tonight with Christa Mackinnon, and we're welcoming her to give us a talk on empowering and rewilding your inner sacred feminine. Christa has been a speaker with Conscious Cafe before. We've loved her presentations. We're excited about tonight. Christa is a psychologist, a family counselor, a clinical hypnotherapist, shamanic teacher, and a best-selling author of 3 books about shamanism and therapeutic shamanism. She actually calls herself a modern medicine woman, and I love that term, and I think that's a term that's being used more and more. So we're going to understand more about what Christa says about that. After working for many years internationally as a trauma specialist and a university lecturer, at the same time she studied Indigenous and contemporary shamanic teachers around the world and has lived in Asia and ashrams. So first-hand knowledge. And what's great is she combines this understanding of shamanism with modern and contemporary psychological teachings, and it's wonderful when people bring these blends together. She's actually has a training organization called Bridging the Worlds and Women Weaving Change, the Modern Medicine Woman Training School, and also co-founded Sacred Earth Activism. So tonight is going to be a rich evening. Let's welcome, I can't hear all the applause, let's welcome Christa tonight. Christa, I'm handing over to you.
Thank you very much, Gina. Good evening, and I'm really pleased to be at Conscious Cafe again. Yes, I think that's the third or fourth time, I don't remember, but it's great to see so many of you tonight. It's about half of the people who have booked in are here, and that's great because many just wait for the videos to be released afterwards. So I'm pleased you're here because we're going to do a little exercise and so on and so on. Gina said everything there is to say about me, and this is not about me, this is about the sacred feminine. I have prepared a brief, and I hope it's brief, PowerPoint, just to give you an overview over developments from the time when the feminine was seen as sacred to where we are now. So you're getting about 20,000 years of history within 15 minutes. Get prepared. So I'm going to share the slideshow with you. And please bear with me. This will take about, as I said, 15 minutes. And then we will go into an exercise. And after that, we will talk about it all. So I've called this evening Empower and Rewild the Sacred Inner Feminine. And the inner feminine, in a way, because what we can do tonight is concentrated on the inner feminine. There's an outer feminine, but for that we would need to be outside, and those two of course connect. But at the moment we're talking about the sacred inner feminine. And going all the way back, and many of you will know that the origin of the feminine principle stems, of course, from the primordial concept of the Great Mother, and that was created by our early tribal ancestors in reverence to the earth and the cycles of nature. And she was seen as the wild, inclusive, and sacred force of life, death, and rebirth. So, of that cycle of life. The Great Mother, from her being, basically emerged all of life. She sustained all of life through the nourishment Earth provides, and all of life returned to her when dying, to then be reborn again in a different form, maybe, but that's another subject. And the feminine was consequently primarily identified with the amazing ability of the female body to gestate and birth life. So the feminine was seen as the life-giving, nurturing, sustaining, and life-embracing force, this creative vessel of life that contains, births, nurtures, and protects life. And in that capacity, the feminine and also women were held sacred, honored, and respected. And we know that. I mean, we know that from we know that from many sources, and don't want to go into all of this here. And as the feminine and the earth are deeply connected, the feminine, and with that women, were seen as the keeper of the knowing about and the wisdom of life, its cycles and its nurturing. And this is quite important, that they were seen as the keeper of the knowing and the wisdom of life, because that changed profoundly. Now today, of course, we are a bit depicting it like this more. You can see here that Earth Mother, everything, the Great Mother, everything is inherent in her. Later, and much later, the feminine also became associated, of course, with heart-centeredness, with emotions, with compassionate love, with the sensual, the intuitive, with the relational and the connecting, the flowing and responding, and, very important, the deep and the dark psyche, so the unconscious basically. And what's noteworthy here is that all of these are connected to body. They all embodied state. You can't feel anything if you're numbed down in your body. You can't feel compassion or love. It's sensual, that sensations in the body, the intuitive, you need to be able to tune into the body. So they all connected to the body, these associations. The word heart-centeredness. So that's quite important to understand, that basically the feminine is very much connected to the physical. And then, of course, our development started, and over many millennia, we developed from tribal hunter-gatherer existences into what we now define as civilized societies. So we became powerful users of tools and resources. We developed agriculture, a very important step in human development, negative and positive. With the development of agriculture, of course, we gained individual possessions and territories. Yeah, while we were still hunter and gatherer, individual possessions didn't matter that much, nor did territories, except for the bigger tribes, the wider territory, but not small plots of land. Then we industrialized, we started to build big cities and civilizations. We migrated all over the globe, and we started fighting territorial wars, of course, for our individual territories, and we grew incredibly in numbers. And whilst all of this was happening, our ways of seeing the world, our values, our thinking, our power structures, and our spiritual systems changed. And they changed profoundly. The feminine, the sacred earth womb creatrix, basically, was replaced by the masculine, the all-powerful God in the sky. This is a massive change. It's not to be underestimated. And the elemental relationship with the earth mother gradually changed from reverence to exploitation. This happened over many millennia, yeah, but these two really go together. So as we developed our spiritual systems, our values, our thinking, our power structures, everything changed. And during that process, we then went from female goddesses and priestesses to male and female deities, and then to the dominance of the male gods and priests. This was really a development which we can easily look at, prove, and debate. Now, what changed, of course, was that these gods were often fierce, war-orientated, and very powerful creatures. Yeah, and they competed with each other while progressively subordinating and disempowering the sacred feminine. And there is, Max Dashu wrote a lot about it, others did. But it becomes really evident in ancient Greece around 400 or 500 BC and later in the Roman Empire, when Isis, the dominant revered goddess, had to make way to the Christian god. So she was really pushed absolutely aside. Now that spiritual development found, of course, its first culmination in Judaism of the biblical area from which then Christianity and Islam evolved. Within that, the masculine god in the sky is firmly established, and the sacred feminine is split into the guilty, sexually alluring woman, dangerous and therefore in need of taming, and the holy virgin mother, who is still subordinated to the Father and the Son. So you can see that this development from that Earth Mother reverence to a God in the sky, with the splitting of the feminine, the sacred feminine, is quite a development. And as you know, both archetypes, the Virgin and the whore, with all their disturbing attributes, as well as the split of the female body, are still reflected in our present day consciousness, unfortunately. So the long process away from the sacred embodied Earth Mother to a disembodied sky god went hand in hand with the devaluing of women. There is no doubt anymore, because woman found herself increasingly in the wrong garden. In that garden, the female was created from a male rib and subjugated to the male. Humans were split from the whole of nature. They had the right to rule over other creatures and the earth, the feminine force. The fruit of knowledge, we can interpret the apple story, many interpret it as the fruit which expands consciousness, was forbidden. And woman was seen as dark, lustful, disobedient, and wild, and therefore needed to be tamed. She was, after all, responsible for the eviction from Eden. And as so many say, she was actually in the wrong garden, but we can have a look at that later. And the serpent, which is an interesting part of this, earlier associated with the great mother's power to regenerate life and with the female instinct, was increasingly vilified and became a symbol of evil. So there was a lot happening in our spiritual realms. Okay. The road we traveled from then onwards led all developing and imperial societies to suppress women's exercise of religious practice and authority, all societies. This was a long process, but here are just a few examples. All the ecstatic dancing temple women disappeared from Asia. Rome stamped out all the women's mysteries. Female witches were burned in Europe. Countless indigenous sacred earth-based practices from Polynesia to Alaska to Africa and India, which were equally the domain of men and women, were suppressed and eradicated by European conquerors and Christian missionaries. And women were increasingly, and still are, excluded from playing any major roles in the spiritual hierarchy of established world religions. The man god in the sky talks through men. It is unbelievable in my eyes that half of the population is included from the top of a spiritual hierarchy. in all major religions. There is not one example. Christianity just slowly gets there, but slowly we are still far way off. Catholicism still can't have female priests. Is God not talking to women? No. So there is a massive development. Now, of course, as this development went on, it could only go on because there was a parallel material development. So the spiritual development went, of course, hand in hand with our material development that had devastating consequences for the earth, the feminine, and for women. I just want to mention maybe 3 factors here. So our focus shifted from being more or less hunter-gatherers, using the land and the world together to an extent. I mean, there were tribal rivalries, onto material development and possessions. And both, of course, formed the basis for the ever-increasing exploitation of resources with the aim to increase production of goods. And for that, you, of course, also had to conquer territories and markets. So we placed the striving for advancement of production, profit, and power way above the life-giving and life-nurturing forces of the earth as well as the feminine. This is really a very difficult development to fully grasp, and what it actually did in a way to the sacred feminine. So while all of this happened, of course, women's rights decreased dramatically. And women and the female body were, like everything else, gradually turned into commodities. There's one big reason. Once you have property, possession, land, and agriculture, you need to ensure that the children who inherit your property, land, territory, agricultural territories, your factories, whatever it was, are your children. And the only way to really ensure that is to subjugate women. There's no other way. So this went hand in hand with an increasing suppression, of course, of women's rights. You remember, I mean, in not many 100 years ago, women couldn't inherit. Women couldn't have an education. Women couldn't go to university. Women couldn't vote. It was a devastating development. We're just coming out of it. So this ongoing disembodiment of human development and an ever-increasing implementation of toxic masculine value systems, such as valuing possession, competition, hierarchies, fighting, conquering, power, and more. So this all went hand in hand. And it's noteworthy here that all of these, and I call them toxic because there are other masculine values which are not toxic, but these are toxic. Note that all of these are mind-based. They are all head-based rather than embodied. That's the big difference. So feminine values is not about women or men. It is about a set of values which is based on the life gestating, nurturing, and continuing. And for that you need heart-centeredness. For that you need compassion. For that you need intuition. For all of this you need certain values. While if your focus is onto material development and possession, you need to create another value system. Like that possession is valuable, that competition is valuable, that hierarchies are valuable, that fighting is valuable, and that conquering is valuable, and that power is valuable. And these are all mind-based. So it's just important to understand that. So the outcome, and I don't want to go much further with that, so this ongoing disembodiment in human development, in alliance with masculine values and ways of thinking. This is actually not my sentence. I should have referenced that. Gives us ground to argue that our agricultural, industrial, scientific, medical, and now technological development, our vast cities and urban lifestyles, as well as our education system focused on the scientific again and rational, have increasingly split us from Earth, from the nature part of ourselves, and from the deep, dark, and intuitive feminine psyche. We are very removed from it. A very famous Hopi woman said not long ago, we don't even know what the feminine is any longer. We don't. We are so removed. So this move from the sensing body and the connected heart to the thinking mind and the disconnected head, together with the degrading, violating, controlling of the female body for most of recorded history, not only kept the wild and sensitive, the wild, sensing, instinctive and heart-centered feminine suppressed, it forced us to adjust to masculine standards in very complex ways. Very complex ways. We all have adjusted. There's not one of us who hasn't. In quite complex ways. So if we add to this the expelling of the sacred feminine and the physically ecstatic from our religions and women from the church hierarchies, we can say that what has been done over many millennia to life on the planet and the feminine aspect of the human psyche has produced a separation and disconnection from Earth with devastating consequences. People call it now a death economy, and I absolutely agree. In opposite to a life economy, which we should have if we would value, or our basis would be feminine principle values, we have a death economy. We need to exploit and exploit more and more. We need to sell more and more goods. Everything has to die. Things have to die faster and faster and faster so that we can produce something new. So this is basically now called a death economy. It cannot go on forever. We know that now. We have limited resources. It has also produced deep and often traumatic emotional and mental wounding worldwide, because this economy is based on exploitation, not necessarily our own people. We go somewhere else if we need cheap labor. We go somewhere else if we need cheap resources. We have produced shadow issues on a grand scale within the collective human psyche. This goes maybe too far, but think about the massive wars we have fought, the slaughter we have committed all over the world with indigenous people, the orphans we have produced, the famines we have produced. These are shadow issues on a massive scale within our psyche collectively. And it has contributed to keeping us on a level of restricted consciousness. So how can we move forward? Indigenous wisdom keepers know that only the rise of the feminine will restore balance to this world. There is no other way. That doesn't mean necessarily women, it means the feminine principles and feminine values, which are easier accessed by women than men. but lots of men access them these days. So it will lead to a life economy where actually the thriving of life is the most important value we have, not consumption, not producing more goods, not being in a power position. It's the thriving of life. So the death economy needs to change into a life economy. It will re-establish Earth's consciousness. If the rise of the feminine can restore balance, we need to re-establish feminine values on every level of society. On every level. And we need to explore the sacred feminine and give it its rightful place within spiritual systems. These are at the moment the ideas of moving forward. And the Dalai Lama said that famous sentence, didn't he? The world will be saved by Western women. I do doubt the Western women approach, but what he meant is absolutely right. It is the feminine which needs to come to the fore, and only then, this is the big outcome, the long-term outcome, then we can say, this is a changing woman. That's an indigenous creation story. And she says to the sun, who is masculine, and asks her to marry him, I will tell you why, she said to him. You are male and I'm female. You are of sky and I'm of earth. You are constant in your brightness, but I must change with the season. You move at the edge of heaven, while I must be fixed in one place on earth. But remember, as different as we are, you and I, we are of one spirit. As dissimilar as we are, you and I, we are of equal worth. Unlike each other, as you and I are, there can be no harmony in the universe as long as there's no harmony between us. But this is the long-term outcome. At this moment in time, to move forward, we are relying on the rising feminine, and I really, really hope that we can all contribute to this. And this is where I want to leave this at the moment and stop sharing. I just wanted you to give you a brief overview. I have written a whole chapter about this in a book. These points are partly taken from that chapter. And we will have a chat about this later. But if you are okay with it, before we chat, I would quite like to just do a brief exercise. I called this evening, well, I said in the title, also rewilding the feminine. And I hope you have understood that it's not about what we now think the feminine is. We need to go right back to that idea that we are of earth, and that the wisdom and the knowing about life, and that has nothing to do with having children. You don't need to have children to have that in you. That this knowing and the wisdom about life, the nurturing of life, the cycles of life, and death is within us. It is within the feminine, because the feminine is the life-creating principle of the universe and of Earth. So to go back to that rewilding inside, to actually explore, what do I come up with if I imagine that I'm in nature, or imagine that I'm working with certain elements, or if I imagine sitting by a fire. This is the kind of stuff we need to do to activate, in a way, this knowing and knowledge. And of course, we can go much further. We need to reactivate the knowing about our own cycle. Those of you who still menstruate. In the old days, our cycles were adjusted to the rhythms of the moon. That's long gone. Long gone. We need to reactivate our knowing about the seasons, because for women, that is really, really important. Like with our menstrual cycles, we rise and fall energetically. But of course, we haven't got that knowledge any longer. We basically have lost it, but we can reactivate it. It's deep within us. So I would like to do a little exercise. I'm looking at the clock, and maybe for that, Gina, I would be quite happy to have gallery view rather than it's on me. And if you want to, you can switch your video off while we are doing the exercise if you don't want to feel watched. Yeah, and then switch it on afterwards again. It's completely up to you. So we're doing a very brief journey, in a way. I've gone to gallery view. We do a brief journey, 15 minutes max. And it's just a kind of guided visualization going back into nature. And to see, just see what comes up for you. I'll lead you into different elements like earth and air and water and fire, and just see what comes up for you. Just let the knowing, in a way, just arise. So the easiest way to do that is you all close your eyes and just make yourself comfortable. If you want to lie down, sit down. However it feels right. I will use a rattle for a while, and then I will let it go. Usually I use the drum, but it interferes very much with talking. So just take a deep breath, close your eyes, and imagine you breathing in through your feet, out through your head. And next inhale, you can inhale through your head, just imagine it, out through your feet. Inhale through your feet, out through your head. And maybe inhale through your head, out through your feet, and just imagine that you are connecting through your breath to hold you from the ground up and from the sky down. And relaxing easily and deeply and without any effort. And as the rattle rattles, just keep breathing, relaxing deeper. And deeper. Without effort, just letting the body relax. And I would like you to imagine that you are somewhere in nature, And it doesn't matter where you are. Just let an image come somewhere outside. Make sure it's pleasantly warm and light. And have a look around. And I would like you to find a spot and imagine that you are lying down on the earth. Lying down, feeling the ground support your body. Breathing gently. And as you lie there on the earth, breathing gently, I would like you to imagine that you're soaking the vibrations of the ground into your body. Maybe you can feel it as you breathe in. And let those vibrations flow through your body, feeling relaxed, healthy, comfortable. And I wonder if you could get a message from the earth. What is the earth messaging to you? It could be through a feeling, sentence, a word, or just a knowing. What is she saying to you? What is she messaging? And where do you feel that message in your body? And when you have received the message, I would like you to imagine that you're getting up and gently walk along and maybe begin to feel the earth around you and the air around you, the wind, if there is any. Maybe there's a light breeze. And I wonder if that air can give you a message. Breathe it in and out. Feel it caressing your face, your body. Maybe you can hear some birds or a rustling of in the trees. Get a message from the air. And if you wander on, you suddenly realize that there's a little stream to your left. Have a look. And you can hear the water gently, gently. And you feel drawn to that stream. It calls you. And it's inviting you to step in. Don't know if you have to take your shoes off or just step in. Or maybe just bend down, take some water, wash your face. Just connect with the stream, with the water. What's the message of water for you? Just for you, nobody else. What's the message of the water? What's the message of the water? Very simple, nothing complex. It might just say flow. And last, I would like you to leave the stream. If you have drifted off, come back. Just leave the stream. And realize that it's getting slightly dark now on your walk. And in the distance, your attention is drawn to a fire which is burning in the distance. Very inviting fire. And you walk towards it. And I don't know if there are trees jumps around the fire, or even chairs, who knows, cushions. But imagine you're sitting down. Just use your imagination, see the fire, feel it. And I wonder if you can see a group of women sitting with you around that fire. There are other women around that fire, forming a circle, sitting just peacefully. Have a look how these women are dressed. What are they wearing? Are they older, younger, a mixture? Just let it come to you, even if you can't see. We aren't all, not all of us are visual. Some of us just have to intuit what's there. And as you sit there with all these women, the fire burning, I would like you to get a sense of your inner wild feminine. How does she look? How does she feel? How does she move? Just let it come. Don't judge. How does she look? Feel? Move? What's her knowing? What does she know? What's her wisdom? Just get a sense of her, how she looks, how she feels, how she moves, how she behaves. What's her wisdom? Breathe her deeply into you. Make her as conscious as you can. And then, as if it was all a dream, just let that scene drift away. Coming back into your body here, now. Wiggle your fingers. If you want to write something down, do it. Move your shoulders. Maybe tap if you need to. Coming back gently and slowly. Take your time. And open your eyes. And in case you want to write something down, do it. If not, just sit for a while, but make sure you're fully back. Fully back in your body. What we're going to do now is just, Gina, I don't know if you want to do that. We do 10 minutes of breakout rooms, 15, and then we have a chat in the group.
So I could do 6 groups of 3 or 5 groups of 3/4. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to take questions from people now, Christa?
Anything.
Or people share their
Anything
insights
you
from
want to
the
share?
group? You can stick your hand up, actually with your hand or with the yellow hand if you know how to raise hand. Yeah, who wants to start with some feedback of what they got from their discussion or their process?
Yeah.
Or an insight. Okay, so Sass, you go ahead, unmute yourself.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Christa because, as I said in my group, I've been talking about this for a long time and nobody listens to me. And I feel like the voice in the wilderness. And it's so lovely to hear somebody else. And I had to turn my camera off earlier because I got so emotional. And it's a release. I feel absolutely flooded with relief that other people are waking up to this. And I know a lot of people probably have all over the world, but not in my world. People haven't listened to any of this for decades. I am that old. And Judy will confirm this because I mean with the Conscious Cafe monthly thing, the drop-ins, but I channel my female ancestors and they've shown me all of the things that you were talking about and more. And, you know, and I thought I was crazy for a long time because it was like, you know, it doesn't have to be like this, and we don't have to have all these things. And it's like, more cushions, really? And I've been very misunderstood for a long time, but they have absolutely shown me how beautiful it can be and how it will be again, and the power that we hold in that ability to nurture and bring life forth, is a miracle. And that's all the reverence, and that's what women hold inside us, and we've been cut off from it for so long, and we do need to reconnect. And it's so wonderful that people are talking about this finally. So I just wanted to say huge thank you, Christa. Huge thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and I'm very touched, because this is our biggest gift to the world is to bring that feminine principle of life and of the thriving of life and of the supporting and nurturing of life to the fore again. It's really important. We have literally developed into a death economy and societies which live on death, and it's vital, I think, also if we want to survive. So I do understand that despair sometimes, because I feel it on and off. Can't you see it?
Yeah.
I was in touch with they wanted me to give a talk, a women's business group, and I said to them, so what are you doing different running businesses as women? And they couldn't give me an answer. And she said to me, oh, women are by nature so competitive. I said, pardon?
No.
Competitive, of course they are. They have had to be competitive for thousands of years to get the bloke so that they could survive.
Yeah.
In the old days, they really were in groups.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
By nature competitive. They have been made competitive, and we are learning it. No, I understand your despair, and thanks for saying that. Okay.
Thank you. And now Courtney raised her hand. Looking for Courtney.
Yeah, hello. I really liked this group. I was in the group with Sass and Sandra, and we were talking about that, and it's kind of similar to her point, but it feels so good to find people like this, because I'm quite new to this. I'm only 18, but when I talk to my peers and I talk about this stuff, they just think I'm crazy. And when I'm saying how healing the connection is to have with women, it feels so, when I hang out with my female friends, there's just something in my heart that just feels so connected that I don't get with male friends. When I tell this to people, they just look at me like I'm crazy. And even the shared intuitive nature of connecting to your feminine, me and Sass and Sandra, when we were talking through what we got from all the elements, they were so similar, and by talking to what we had a joint message that we'd all tapped into. And it's just so interesting that women all over the world are so connected to this intuitive Mother Earth, but it's just we're so separated and divided and distracted with possessions and material needs that everyone forgets that they have this. And it feels so good to feel a group, and to like I said, like Sass said, just to speak to people and them not look at you like you have to go to a mental asylum, for them to feel this energy too and understand this energy, and it gives me hope for the future. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm gonna Steve, thanks for sharing that, Courtney. I'm going to invite Steve, had his hand up.
Oh, good evening, ladies. Just on that note about women being competitive, giving birth, that's not in nature. That's no competition. That's not natural. That's just someone's perception thinks about. No, it's cooperation is the word. Cooperate with nature rather than competing. I'd like to come from another angle. I mean, this is mythology, but Adam and Eve, Adam's first partner was Lilith, but she got a bad slating. She got because and she got cast out to the demons and didn't. But some say that she was just didn't want to go with Adam, and she's just done what she had a. I use the word free will, but it's all tied up with mythology and religions and things. But the other concept, I'm interested in the Gnostics, and they talk about Sophia. Sophia, it's a goddess Sophia, but she got again pushed to one side because of the archons. The archons with the rulers, and they rule and tell people this is what you do, and we follow. And what the reason why I'm sharing is because I think humanity, male and feminine, the two, our spirituality, we're kept a little bit, sounds a bit conspiracies, but I think we're kept in the dark with lots of things. And what I'm trying to say is our sovereignty, our spirituality, that needs to be out there in the world. What we really about. It's our spirit out, and that's where our heart comes in. It connects to what we really are. You ladies know this. So yeah, even though I'm the only bloke here, but it doesn't matter, but it's out there because it's all shifting. But we have to go through a lot of stuff to come out of, because the truth's the truth. But it's moving, Anyway, that's me done now. Thank you.
And thank you for sharing as the only man here.
I would like to say something to that, Steve, because this is interesting that you brought it up. I didn't mention Lilith, but of course I'm well aware of Lilith and also of Santa Sophia. And it is interesting how it was all cut down to size now,
Yeah.
to fit into what it needed to fit into. Yeah. Because originally Lilith, I don't know if you all know it, but it is an interesting story. Lilith was Adam's equal.
Yeah.
And she wanted to be an equal, and she was taken out of the scriptures very quickly. So it's an interesting story. Have a good look at it. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else want? I'm going to put the gallery view on, then I can see. Does anybody else want to share something they took away from either their group sharing or their experience of the meditation, or something that was shared earlier on? Okay, so Karen, do you want to unmute yourself? Yeah. Ask to unmute. Okay.
Hello, thank you, Christa. I just wanted to ask a question, actually. When someone who identifies as male makes a request to begin to connect more deeply with their feminine, how would you begin?
That's an interesting question, isn't it? Because thanks, Karen, for that. I'm in three minds about this. Honestly, I am. Because I personally feel, and that's really my personal opinion, that men need to do their work finally. And I should do it in men's groups. I'm having a real problem. Whenever I put anything on any social media about the feminine, I'm instantly getting men coming. It's only men, starting to say, oh, but we don't exclude you, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, why aren't you just forming a men's group? Why don't you get together and actually talk about it? Because this toxic masculinity, which is on every level of our society, harms men as well, as you know, Karin. That's why he wants to get more in touch with his feminine. Men get harmed by it. But it shouldn't be our job again and again and again to put the sticking plasters on and to bind the wounds. my gut feeling is go and form a men's group, get together with a few men and have a look at what's actually happening to you. And there are men's groups out there who try to do that, who really try to find out this softer side of themselves and discuss how actually society really works against them, no matter where they are. So how would they start? I personally feel really start with a men's group, get together with other men, because this is what women do and women did for many, many, many years, you know. Some guy said to me, oh yeah, but they just chat. Yes, at least we bloody communicate and we don't solve our conflicts via wars, you know. We talk to each other, or you talk too much. You know what I mean? So they have to figure out where they actually are and what is hurting them. Because a lot of men commit suicide. They are hurt. So that would be my take. But anybody else, what do you feel and think?
So do you really want to comment on this aspect? As much as we look at the feminine, we also need to look at the new masculine, don't we? I've heard it, can't remember where I heard it shared about women needing to give space to men to do their work, you know, in some cases, sort of relying on the man as the rock, giving them space to be vulnerable in a way some men don't feel they have the opportunity. Sandra, you want to comment?
Yeah, it was just making me think about this, you know, that part of the healing is understanding this distinction between patriarchy and masculinity. And I think then immediately there's not the split between male and female, masculine and feminine. It's like we're all subject to this system that we're part of right now. And I think that immediately helps me to step away from the conflict and into the humanity within which the masculinity and femininity is contained. But I'm totally with you, Christa. I think that work, in the same way that sort of anti-racism work needs to be done by white people in white groups, you know, I think men need to do their work in men's groups.
Okay. Courtney. Courtney's got a hand up again. Go for it, Courtney.
Yeah, and like also I just kind of think that it's important that men do their work in men groups for another reason. It's proven that men are less likely to listen to women and take their opinion as fact. Like a lot of the time, if a woman puts forward an opinion and a man puts forward the same opinion, men will automatically side with the man because they think that they're the intelligent thinkers and the logical thinkers, and that women are just hysterical, and because they're more in touch with their emotions, that this is a negative. So I think by allowing men in their own space to feel emotions and just understand that it's normal can help break down those barriers, instead of women having to teach men that they're allowed to be emotional, because once again that's just feeding into the divide that men can't be nurturing. Because if they rely on us for these kind of courses and stuff like that, it's further putting women in the place of being caregivers and being, you know, leaders to men, whereas they have that innate wisdom too, because femininity does not mean female. It's just more connected to the emotional side of the world. And even just a personal experience, so I set up the Feminist Society at my university, and so many men won't join because they're like, it's a woman's place, it's not for me. Like, you know, why do I care about feminism? Like, it doesn't affect me. I'm like, it does affect you. All the issues you have in your life are because men think that feminism doesn't affect them, but as equally as we have to fight to end it, they do too, because all their problems come from just their hatred of feminism, because it's given such a bad stigma. So yeah.
Wonderful. Love Courtney, wonderful. I'm going to bring in Sass now, and then perhaps we've got time for one other after Sass. Spotlight.
Hi.
Marion also had her hand up, didn't you?
Okay, so we'll do that. Okay, go for it, Sass, and then we'll have Marion. Yeah.
Just want to very quickly reference the yin yang of it. If anyone knows anything about the principle of yin and yang, it's not a split down the middle. It's the shape it is big for a reason, and it revolves. And there is the little white spot in the black and the black spot in the white is where the feminine is always in the masculine and the masculine is always in the feminine. We have parts of both, and it is a dance, and it's harmony and it's balance. It's not a battle and it's not a contest. It's support. One cannot exist without the other. But yin is not yang and yang is not yin, but they cannot exist without the other. So if you like, separately, they have to figure it out and figure out ways in which we can bring that balance and harmony back by supporting each other, but within our, the yin and the yang. Am I explaining it at all? Is it making sense at all? You can't have light without knowing what day is. You can't have up without knowing what down is, and everything. So it is, a movement and a dance, and it's about supporting and living in harmony with each other, and that's what we need to get to. It's not man and woman. It's the yin and yang of the whole cycle of life and the cycle of the earth. You can't have one without the other, and that's the harmony we need to get back to.
And did Marion want to say something? I'm looking at my gallery view again.
Yeah.
Marion, okay, go for it.
Just a quickie. No, it's just that a few years ago, before the pandemic, I was involved with some goddess groups in London, but they did massive things down at the Isle of Wight and different things. And there were groups that were just women, purely women. They also had some noble man, what they called the noble man groups. But sometimes we assisted. We did have various workshops where the men actually came in and supported the women and heard the pain. It was amazing, so powerful. The weekends were just everybody in floods of tears, incredibly healing. And we had some where we would assist on the men's noble man group, and actually to listen, because you sort of see, and they get all together and they do all their mad dancing and ripping all their clothes off and doing whatever. But to hear their pain and to see them absolutely in floods of tears talking about how they feel and the whole thing, and nurture, just being there for them and them feeling heard. It's incredible. And nobody wants to go home at the end of the weekend. It's just this massive thing of love. It's just incredible. And it can work, but I mean, there definitely need to be men's groups, women's groups, but you can get ones where you assist. This is this noble man thing. And it's probably online if anybody knows anyone who's interested in something like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I say something to that, Gina? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Pat McGabe, the Hopi elder, she does something similar. She's a friend of mine, and I love the work she does, but she does it in a very structured way. No? And like you described, Marion, that sounds quite similar. That's done in a very structured way. But women need to be careful that we don't fall into the carer role yet again. They do need to do their work. And only if they do it, will it be theirs. We have held men for millennia now. And so Pat McGabe does something similar. She does, it's kind of like grieving circles, and it's a women's group, but the men are holding the space, like in the old tribal traditions, that the men are there to actually hold the space for the women, so keep them safe and so on. And the men are around, and the women do kind of speak, and all the hurt and all that comes out, the rapes and the beatings and all of this, and And the men are usually in floods of tears
Mm.
because they do not know. But it is done very structured.
Mm.
And I think that is important because we so easily fall into that trap of trying to rescue the guys again.
Mm.
No? It's really easily done. But yes, I agree with you that there are beautiful ways of working with that.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Christa, as we come to a close from our session, which obviously, as we go layer by layer, deeper and deeper, it's a very big subject. How can people connect to you? I did put your website there. Is there something that you want to share with us? Something you've got at the moment? People want to know more about you or what you're doing?
Funnily enough, you won't believe it, and that was really not planned because my talk was planned much earlier, wasn't it? And then Judy and I moved it because we realized, God, we're in the middle of the summer break, and as nobody will come. And then we had, last time, did you have here? Of course, Sharon. So we moved it after Sharon. And so this wasn't planned, but I am running on the 12th, I think it's the 12th of November, a whole day on Zoom together with Vanessa Tucker. Discover and empower your inner medicine woman. And that is a very powerful day. I mean, it's a real powerful day and it's affordable. It's all on my website, and my website is here. Exactly. Judy put it in, or Gina put it in. So it's just www.christamackinnon.com. All the courses and workshops are there. That's all really.
Wonderful.
But that is a powerful day, so it might be worth looking into. But this is about your inner medicine, so it's not about the sacred feminine. This is coming from the idea that each of us has a gift to give to the world, and that this is our medicine. And so we're working with that the whole day.
It's such an important subject to explore. Well, thank you tonight for giving us that depth, that history, to understand more what's happening in this dance, this conflict between masculine and feminine, men and women at this time, the history that underpins that. I think that gives people a great perspective, and that beautiful meditation journey. It was lovely. Christa, thank you so much. So let's say thank you.
Thank you, everybody who came. Thank you very much. And Sandra, I just wanted to say I agree. Just the patriarchy is the difference needs to be made. I haven't, but it's interesting. Thank you ever so much, and thank you for Judy, please, for inviting me yet again. Sweetness, thank you ever so much. Gorgeous Judy, and Gina for